Thank you very much to our previous speakers who are just exiting any minute now. So we can get to invite our next speakers onto the stage. Brave New World, somebody said to me years ago, I think it might even have been the speaker who's coming up next. Tourism is, of course, to a large extent all about transport, whether it's a bike tour, a night out by taxi, to visit an attraction. Most urban sightseeing experiences incorporate some form of vehicles. So in this session, my good friend Alex Bainbridge, founder of Futura, is going to outline some different scenarios on how AI-driven autonomous vehicles will impact cities and tourism product on the whole. And it's actually already happening, Alex is telling me. So please, Alex, come to the stage and tell us all about it. And maybe towards the end, we'll have 5 minutes for some Q&A. You may put your questions on Slido. And if not, I'll grab a mic and run around and you can do your questions live. So Alex, please, the stage is yours. Please.
Morning. Hi. So who here is either a tour operator or retails tours in some way? Put your hands up. Okay, there must be some sort of hoteliers in the room perhaps. Any hoteliers in the room? Great. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through AI, but not the AI that we've all been talking about for the last 12 months. I'm not going to mention OpenAI, and I'm not going to mention Gemini, because every time anyone ever says AI, this is what everyone thinks. But today, hopefully at the end of this session, you'll think there's more to AI than ChatGPT. So what am I talking about today? Autonomous vehicles. And of course, I did have to put one AI-generated image into this presentation. So what exactly is an autonomous vehicle, and why should we be paying attention to them? So in the last 9 years, the largest automotive companies, the digital platforms, they have invested $42 billion on making robots drive vehicles. That is a lot of money. What does all that expenditure and investment mean in terms of the tourism experience in our destinations? So to think about that, we need to, as Charlotte said in the introduction, we need to think, well, what exactly is sightseeing? Sightseeing is buses, sightseeing is taxis to an attraction. Sightseeing is all about transport. It's all about going to places and seeing things. So about 50 to 60% of all experiences sold today incorporate some kind of transport. And what is an autonomous vehicle? So on the left-hand side, that's a Cruise Origin, a four-seat robotaxi. Come back to all of this, and I'm going to go through all the vehicle types in a second. And on the right-hand side, we have an eVTOL, which is a drone that you can put 2 humans in, no pilot. So we're going to go from buses and taxis to this. So the only question is when and what products, what sightseeing products, what hospitality products should we be building that we can operate in these vehicles that we could not operate in buses. So let's start with going through some different vehicle types. So I know we're in Europe, but let's start with some US and Chinese examples. So on the left-hand side, we've got a Waymo vehicle. Waymo belongs to Google, and they're currently operating in 4 cities, Phoenix, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and last night, so too late for this presentation, they announced that they're going to start in Austin, in Texas. So Google's going to be one of the big players. Next along is Apollo from Beidou. Beidou is fundamentally China's Google. They're already operating in 10 cities with their autonomous vehicles, and they have announced that they've done 4.1 million trips. So this is not some future thing. This is here and now operating experiences. Zoox. Anyone know who owns Zoox? Amazon. So we've got Amazon is going to go live very soon in Las Vegas. They've been testing for the last 3-4 years. They're also then going to launch in San Francisco and Seattle. So that is what makes Amazon a global tour operator. And then Cruise, which is from General Motors. You may have seen some press. They've had some issues, but they are about to relaunch in probably Houston and Nashville. So this is the kind of vehicles and the kind of digital platforms that will be operating experiences in destination over the coming years. Now let's bring it back to Europe. Oslo. So this is Oslo's plan. Oslo's plan is that, without going into the detail of it, this is a screenshot from their website. So Oslo's plan is 20,000 robotaxis by, let's say, 2030. So can you imagine 20,000 of these vehicles in Oslo by 2030? That is 6 years away. That's quite a large number. And you have to think, if you're a tour bus operator today in Oslo, you should be looking at this plan thinking, where's the tour bus? But it's not just about robotaxis. Oh, actually, let's talk about other things that are happening in Europe. So there's a company called P3 Mobility, who are based in Croatia, recently taken a big funding round. They've announced that they're coming to Germany in 2027. So if you are a German tour operator, you need to be paying attention to P3 Mobility, because these robotaxis that I've just been talking about in the USA and China, are coming to Europe. Hamburg. Anyone here from Hamburg? Or one. Do you know about this vision to have 10,000 autonomous vehicles in Hamburg by 2030? So fundamentally, the city of Hamburg is running this project now, where they are inviting partners, and they're going to have 10,000 of these shuttles, and these shuttles are a little bit bigger than robotaxis, so you can put 6, 7, 8, 10 people in maybe. I know, because my previous business is a tech company doing bus ticketing, that there are 3 sightseeing bus companies in Hamburg who have got 0 plans for what to do when the city of Hamburg puts 10,000 of these into Hamburg. So that is what we're here today, is to what are we all going to do about this? So, what kind of experiences can we run with these vehicles? So, we currently operate 25 experiences in San Francisco. They range from an ice cream tour, which goes to 4 different ice cream shops. Not exactly an amazing, but it's better than going on a bar crawl if you like your ice cream. You can design anything. But the key at the moment with robotaxis is that you have to think that the longest that you are going to stay in the vehicle is 20 to 30 minutes at a time. So you don't think of them as the experience. You think of them as the glue. So it's how do you get from one place in a city to another place in a city? Fundamentally urban. That screenshot is from our website. We've got all these kind of experiences. So we're still testing, but we're working out exactly what products consumers might want in terms of that can be delivered by robotaxis. From a hospitality perspective, some of the products we're working on are what we call our night out products. So you go from a hotel, you go to a restaurant, you go to the theater or a music event, and then you go back to your hotel. That requires 3 vehicle bookings, a restaurant booking, the music event ticketing. So you have to think, actually, there's some quite interesting hospitality products that can be offered by autonomous vehicles going forward. That is another AI-generated image. Right. But airport transfers. Anyone here operate airport transfers or sell airport transfers? Oh, a few. OK. So Google is already doing airport transfers in Phoenix. And Beidou, which is Apollo, and Pony AI are just got permission to do airport transfers in China. So the general assumption, my working assumption, is that in the next 2 to 3 years, we will no longer have human-operated airport transfers. The market will be dominated by Google, the Chinese companies, and everyone else. So if you are a business that is motivated by airport transfers today, you need to be thinking, this is the competition. Is anyone worried yet? Right. So, OK, keep going. But it's not just about robotaxis and shuttles. There's also another kind of ground autonomous vehicle that we all should be paying attention to, and that is personally owned autonomous vehicles. These are vehicles that consumers can go and buy and keep in their garage if they want to. It's been a long time coming. Everyone's like, well, when are these things going to happen? Mobileye, which is owned by Intel, have now put their dates out in the public and have said that they are going to have their vehicles ready by 2026. And they have a European OEM. An OEM is what they call, is like a car manufacturer. They have said that they're going to have 9 models. And the rumors are that it's Volkswagen. Don't absolutely know that, but it's pretty likely to be Volkswagen. So what do these personally owned autonomous vehicles mean? They mean that you as the driver are not legally responsible for the driving. So you can take your eyes off, you can take your hands off the steering wheel, and the responsibility for the driving function will be with Mobileye, not with you. So they're going to be available from 2026. So give it a bit more lag and probably say 2030. Okay, so that's where we should expect these vehicles to be kicking in. And they will, instead of being city by city, like we've seen with robotaxis, they will be available EU-wide. So what kind of experiences can we do with a personally owned autonomous vehicle? Fundamentally, a consumer will go to a company like Hertz and rent a vehicle for 8 hours, 10 hours maybe. So all of a sudden, the experiences that today are operated by coaches will be operated by personally owned autonomous vehicles. So you as a consumer will get in your personally owned autonomous vehicle that's arrived at your hotel, be taken to Stonehenge in the UK or in San Francisco, out to the vineyards. And these will be long experiences, fundamentally where most of the coach industry today makes its money. So the robotaxis will be urban, and the personally owned will be competing and addressing the same market as the coach market today. Okay. But it's not just on the ground that we're having autonomous vehicles. So I said I was going to mention some of these eVTOL. You can call them human drones. You can even call them flight seeing, which I think is a horrible word. But anyway, that's what some people call it. So this is actually a Chinese company but they're listed in the US on the NASDAQ, so I guess that makes them American as well. If you go to this website, EA Electric Aviation, you can book an experience using an autonomous drone. So these vehicles today cost $410,000. And there's a Guatemalan company who is already operating them as experiences. The reason why it's taking place in Guatemala is that they don't have quite the same air regulations as we do in Europe and USA. So you have to start somewhere, and you start in the countries that have the regulations that are happy enough to have it happen. They're also operating sightseeing in China, but that's the thing. So what's the price of this thing? So it costs, for $99, you get 15 minutes for 2 people. Now, if you put someone in a helicopter tour today for 2 people, you would end up paying about $600, $500 in most markets. So this is about 1/6 of the price of a helicopter tour. Now, these, in Shenzhen, in China, they're building 600 taxi spots just within one city, so you can take your taxi from anywhere to anywhere else in one city. Just think about that from a tourism perspective, a hospitality perspective. What exactly is the threat to urban tourism for that? What's the opportunity? So, what kind of experiences can we do with this? This is one of their photos. They've got a concept of a restaurant that's in the sky that you can go and land at and have your dinner. But fundamentally, you have to be thinking, okay, this is going to be some interesting things that we'll be able to do with these vehicles. Helicopter tours and a lot of ground mobility should be looking at this thinking, hang on, what are we going to do about this? I mean, I used to do a lot of work in the Las Vegas market, and this is within range. So if you go from Las Vegas and you want to go to the Grand Canyon, you could take one of these. So that today is one of the most expensive products you can buy in Las Vegas, and now it will be a mainstream cheap experience. So eHang, that's available now. It's beginning to scale up. So it's all about vehicles so far, but we've all seen transitions before in the sightseeing industry. So we've had the horse. That top right, is actually a Berlin sightseeing bus from the 1930s. On the bottom left, that's a Paris Cityrama, who was one of the they were the first double-decker sightseeing buses that were introduced back in the 1960s. But the key thing that it differentiates what we're doing with autonomous vehicles and all of the other transitions of vehicle that we've seen in sightseeing is that this is the first time we have removed the driver. And that is what makes it difficult. It doesn't make it, well, it makes it difficult to drive, but it makes it really difficult to deliver a tourism experience. So, tour operators. Fundamentally, 3 decisions to be made. And I'll go through them in a second. So we have to work out what experiences we're going to operate, what vehicle are we going to use, and what technology will we use. These are the 3 decisions. And, OK, let's go through them. So what experiences? Decision 1. So there's a very good indication that the experiences that we will be offering in the future, every tour operator will be offering, will be personalized, meaning it needs to start at the hotel of the guest. It will be tailored to their preferences, so if they're vegetarian, it will know that. It will be long tail. So, for example, in San Francisco, we have a poetry tour that absolutely no one books. But it is there because we believe that the long tail is where the opportunity is. So rather than having these mainstream tours, we're going to have tours focused on very niche topics that the people who like it will love it. And then we'll also get a number of people who won't like it. So we will, so I see a shift in product to long tail. And of course, we need these experiences to be digitally operated. So this is not today's tours just in a new vehicle. They have to be redesigned from scratch. OK, what vehicle? So if you look at the biggest sightseeing companies in the world, they own about 10,000 buses, 4 to 10,000, depending on how you count them. So you've got to make a decision as a tour operator if you own buses. So you've got to say, am I going to keep my existing buses? Option 1. Am I going to use publicly available robotaxis? So for example, if you're a Hamburg tour operator, do you use one of the 10,000 that the city is going to put in place? As a tour operator, do you buy off the shelf from, there's now 3 companies who will offer a commercial vehicle? Or do you design and build a new vehicle? But the key factor that comes into your decision-making here is how on earth are you going to differentiate your vehicle from other vehicles? So, for example, you could go to Volkswagen and get an autonomous ID Buzz, right? But what happens if the local robotaxi service is using the autonomous ID Buzz? How do you, as a tour operator, differentiate your product from the robotaxi product? All of a sudden, it's a big issue. OK, so what vehicle? Major, major decision coming down the track for every bus-owning tour operator. And then finally, what technology? As I said, as you replace the human driver, you need to now have a mechanism to deliver the sightseeing experience. And I call that technology a digital experience platform. That is what you need to have. So you need to make a technology choice at some point. So you probably do those 3 decisions roughly in sequence. Sounds a lot of hard work if you're a local tour bus company. So what's the timelines look like now, if you're a European one? Now, I stood on this stage, eTravel, in 2018, and I proposed a set of transition timelines. Was I right? I said everyone had to transition. In 2018, and you can go back onto the ITB website, you will see that I said that everyone has to transition by 2025. Now, I was pretty much right. We're in 2024, and we're already operating autonomous vehicle experiences in the USA. So I thought I was pretty right in 2018. Not a single bus company has got any transition plans. So I obviously failed to get my message across in 2018. I'm hoping you guys are all a bit more receptive to my ideas today. So this is the new timeline that I think that anyone who's beginning to think, wow, what are we going to do with this? This is the timeline that everyone has to work on. So 24, 25, you now have to think, okay, what are these digital experiences that we can operate in our cities? What is it? What products will people want? And how are we going to make money? Minor issue. 2026, you need to make a decision on your vehicle, which should have been informed by what experiences you're going to be operating. And that puts you in a position to potentially have an alternative fleet in 2029 to 2031, depending on vehicle choice. Now, I started this presentation by saying personally owned autonomous vehicles are coming in 2026. I'm not a total believer anymore that if a tour bus company starts their transition to deliver a new vehicle by 2030, that I think the personally owned autonomous vehicles is now stepped up ahead. So I think that tour bus owners have collectively left it too late. But that's life. So we are already operating 25 experiences in San Francisco. So if anyone's going to USA anytime, shout at me and I will see if I can get you in an autonomous car. So my final advice on this is be ready, because this is happening. Every one of your plans that is based on how you work with OTAs, how you work with ResTech, all has to be revisited as a result of these vehicles that are going to change. If you're an entrepreneur that doesn't have any tour buses today, actually this is really a massive opportunity, because someone else is going to spend all of the money to buy vehicles and put them in your cities. Now all of a sudden you can operate experiences using them. So if you're a non-bus owning entrepreneur, amazing. If you're a bus-owning entrepreneur, thinking time. So get all the attraction deals in place. Get your experiences tuned so you know what you're doing. And then maybe, just maybe, we will be able to get the new cities who are putting this tech into their cities, we will be able to put these hospitality experiences that you have designed into their vehicles. And that would mean that everyone's got a transition where we can still make money. So that's what I wanted to say today. And of course, ask me for help. We do have a bit of time for some questions. And I really do welcome questions, because I know this is a difficult topic. And every time I talk about it, there's always loads of amazing questions. So anyone got any questions?
We have got a couple of mics that can go around. So is anybody brave enough? I will say, I've known Alex for coming up to 13, 14 years now, and I have to say, yeah, I know, he has always been ahead of the curve. I think he's sometimes too early to market with some of his ideas, but really follow this guy. He will eventually be right. Sometimes it just takes a little bit longer than he thinks. And I think that he has demonstrated that very well today. I'm very glad that he's joined us. Anybody? I see Timothy in the audience. Timothy, you normally have a question for people.
I'm good.
But you've maybe asked him all the questions you have. Okay, here we go.
Wait a sec. Can I just take your point as first question, which is the timings? Let me talk about timings. So if you are a tour bus operator today, you tend to buy your buses on finance. And you will probably finance them over 10, 15 years. So when you buy a bus, expect 10 to 15 years of commercial usage. So if we think today that we're only going to get another 5 years out of the bus fleets that everyone owns today, because they're going to be replaced as a product by the autonomous vehicle product, then anyone so that's the reason why we had to think about it 5, 10 years ago, was because people were financing 5, 10 years ago for vehicles that that will still be in use up till 2030. So we're deep now into the CFO nightmare scenario window, which is where they're still paying finance on vehicles that the consumers don't actually want.
Perfect. Timmy, did you have a question? Want one? Can we get a mic to this chap here?
Photos? Got any photos?
Get to this.
Good morning, still. So here's my question.
Yeah.
The financing is the big issue here. Because if we look at the rate of technology, are we assuming that the bus life cycle and the autonomous vehicle life cycles are going to be the same? Are they? Yes, no?
Quick answer.
That's a good question. The Cruise Origin, it's gone off there. Never mind. The Cruise Origin, they've said it's good for 1 million miles. No one, of course, has driven a Cruise Origin 1 million miles, but they're made by General Motors, who reckon that's the numbers. So they think they're going to do 18 hours usage a day. So they're going to get quite high intense usage. How many years that takes to reach 1 million miles, I don't know. That's an interesting question. The problem with this is that there's a lot of unknowns, but there's also some knowns. I'm going to sound a bit like Donald Rumsfeld. And we do know that autonomous vehicles are coming because we're already operating experiences using autonomous vehicles. So the challenge isn't, should we not do it because we don't know something? It's we actually have to dive into it and do it anyway.
So small steps. There's a gentleman down here who had a question, and then we'll get to the front as well.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick question about, well, we talked about taxis right now and helicopters. What about trains? Can we use AI technology to make trains autonomous? Because that would be a big help.
So I flew here to Berlin this time via Gatwick Airport, and between one of the terminals to the other terminal, I went in an autonomous train. But it's been there for 20 years, so I don't think it's particularly new. But yes, trains have gone autonomous. I think there's some interesting examples there. Yes, but will that change hospitality? Will it change tourism? No, it will just be more efficient way of operating the same product that's operated today.
Thank you, Alex. We have a question here at the front. This gentleman here. It's a microphone coming. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the presentation. This was very interesting. I have a question regarding the autonomous vehicles. In order to have completely autonomous vehicles driving on the streets without a driver at all, you need level 5 autonomous vehicles. At least level 4, I think.
Level 4, yes.
Exactly. So where do you get the information from, or how do you predict that by this time we will have complete acceptance of level 4 and level 5 autonomous vehicles on a wide scale in the cities and everywhere?
Yeah, so there are a number of different levels that gauge the importance or the completeness of autonomous driving. For example, Tesla, which everyone knows about, is not autonomous. That's called driver assist. It's helping you, but you as the consumer, the driver, still take legal responsibility for the car. Anything from level 4 onwards, the vehicle manufacturer, the platform, takes legal responsibility. So level 4 means that we can have a defined area. For example, the city of Hamburg is a defined area, which means that it works within that context. And level 5 is when it works in any context. So, yeah, I mean, yesterday when I was here at ITB, in the UK, the law was passed that it now makes autonomous vehicle driving legal in the UK. The same work is happening all over Europe. The same work has happened in the US. So the legal frameworks are all in. The insurance frameworks are all in. These vehicles are already out there and doing this work. So, yeah, I'm confident it's here.
Fantastic. And also legal, of course, in China. That's very sadly all we've got time for. Never quite enough when Alex is on stage with half an hour. But Alex is here, and you can find him on social media. So if you've been excited by the presentation, I might even get him back next year. And then we're expecting that a lot more has happened than what has been the case since 2018. All right? Yep. So the next year will be pivotal, I'm sure, for this particular area. Thank you, Alex. Let's give him a warm hand, please. Thank you very much.